The one where Bezos packs his bags, maybe. An utterly bonkers premise. Right, Amazon, leaving America. It's the kind of statement that makes you want to check the calendar just to make sure it isn't April Fool's Day. Amazon, the company that's more American than apple pie delivered by drone, upping sticks and leaving the good old US of A. It sounds like a plotline rejected from a bad sci-fi movie. Think about it. Amazon, the behemoth of e-commerce, the titan of tech, the entity that can get you a rubber chicken, a kilo of quinoa, and a self-help book on competitive dog grooming to your doorstep in under 24 hours. The suggestion that they'd just pack their Kindles, tell Alexa to turn off the lights and wander off into the international sunset is frankly hilarious. Still, for the sake of argument, and because frankly the world is a very silly place right now, let's entertain this utterly bonkers premise. Fasten your seatbelts, folks, this is going to be a bumpy and frankly quite daft ride. Terrific times, why would they even think about it? So, if we're forced to squint really hard and find a semi-plausible reason for this fictional Amazonian exodus, our gaze inevitably lands on the delightful, ever-so-stable world of international trade policies. Yes, tariffs, those wonderful little taxes on imported goods that politicians love to slap on things. Imagine you're Amazon. Your entire business model is built on sourcing products from every conceivable corner of the globe and delivering them efficiently to millions of customers. Now picture a world where the cost of bringing those goods into your primary market, the good old USA, suddenly becomes wildly unpredictable. The speculation posits that if these trade skirmishes escalate into full-blown, prolonged trade wars, the US could, theoretically, become a very expensive and complicated place for Amazon to do business. It's a long shot, a very, very long shot. But in the theater of the absurd that is modern geopolitics, stranger things have, arguably, almost happened. The prime directive when tariffs hit the fan and the bottom line. Let's get down to brass tacks, or perhaps in Amazon's case, down to the microchips and cardboard boxes. How exactly would these dreaded tariffs impact Amazon's operations? And more importantly for its shareholders, its profitability? Well, it's not pretty. Amazon's business model relies on a massive, intricate network of global suppliers. Many of these suppliers are based in countries that have faced US tariffs. When these tariffs are imposed, the cost gets passed along. First, it might hit Amazon, who then faces a choice: absorb the increased cost or pass it on to consumers. Neither option is appealing for a company built on low prices and vast selection. Amazon ships billions of items. Even a small percentage increase in cost adds up to a colossal sum. Tariffs can affect raw materials and components, leading to a ripple effect throughout the supply chain. Unpredictable tariffs create a nightmare for planning and logistics. Businesses thrive on stability and predictability. Throw a hefty dose of tariff roulette into the mix, and suddenly, even the most robust business models start to look a bit wobbly. Operation Relocation packing up a digital empire, it's complicated. Okay, so let's say, for the sake of this increasingly surreal thought experiment, that the tariff situation gets so catastrophically bad that Amazon's board decides, right, that's it, we're off. What would it actually take for a company the size of Amazon to relocate its core operations from the United States? The short answer, a miracle. The slightly longer answer, a logistical, financial, and human resources undertaking of such monumental proportions, it would make building the pyramids look like a weekend DIY project. First, there's the physical infrastructure. We're talking about hundreds of fulfillment centers, those colossal warehouses packed to the rafters with everything from books to blenders. Then there are the data centers, the nerve centers of Amazon Web Services, AWS, which powers a significant chunk of the internet. Rebuilding that kind of physical footprint elsewhere would take years, if not decades, and cost sums of money that would make a small nation's GDP look like pocket change. Then there's the human element. Amazon employs hundreds of thousands of people in the US, from software engineers in Seattle to warehouse workers in Kentucky. The recruitment and relocation effort would be staggering. And what about the institutional knowledge, the company culture, the intricate web of relationships built over decades? The sheer complexity of disentangling a company so deeply interwoven with the American economy is mind-boggling. New digital jungles. Where on earth, or off it, could Amazon go? So assuming Amazon somehow manages to perform the logistical miracle of the century and decides to actually leave the US, the next billion-dollar question is, where would they go? They need a location or perhaps multiple locations that can support an operation of their immense scale and complexity. The list of viable candidates is, shall we say, rather short. One might immediately think of Europe. Countries like Germany, France, or the UK have large affluent consumer markets. However, they also come with their own complex regulatory environments, strong labor laws, and let's be honest, a sometimes skeptical view of American tech giants. What about Asia? Singapore is a tech hub with a business-friendly environment. India has a massive, growing market, but also significant protectionist policies and logistical challenges. The cultural and political hurdles in many Asian countries would be immense. They'd need a place with a stable government, a skilled workforce, excellent infrastructure, and a legal system they can navigate. Perhaps they'd consider somewhere like Canada. Friendly neighbors, similar culture, but a much smaller market. Every option comes with its own hefty baggage of challenges, be they political, economic, or logistical. The American hangover: empty carts, empty promises. Now let's flip the script. Imagine Amazon actually goes through with this hypothetical bonkers move. The impact on American consumers and small businesses would be catastrophic. For millions, Amazon is an essential utility. The sudden disappearance of shipping would be a shock to the system. Small businesses using Amazon Marketplace would face an existential threat. Their businesses could evaporate overnight. The ripple effects would be enormous. Economic Armageddon and the great regulatory unraveling. So what now? Beyond the immediate impact on consumers and small businesses, Amazon decamping from the US would trigger broader economic repercussions that would make the 2008 financial crisis look like a minor hiccup. We're talking about a potential stock market crash, a significant blow to investor confidence, and a gaping hole in the US tech industry, which is a cornerstone of the modern American economy. AWS, Amazon's cloud computing arm, underpins a vast swath of the internet, including services used by countless other businesses and even government agencies. The regulatory challenges would also be immense. How does a country even begin to regulate a company that has effectively said, nope, we're out? Antitrust concerns, data privacy issues, tax collection, all these complex regulatory frameworks built around Amazon's US presence would be thrown into chaos. The very notion challenges the traditional understanding of corporate nationality and the power of sovereign states over multinational giants. This whole, admittedly far-fetched scenario serves as a rather stark, if satirical, reminder of the fragility of our interconnected global economy. The idea that a company could become so integral to a nation's economy and way of life, and then potentially threaten to leave, is a sobering thought, even if it's wrapped in layers of absurdity. So let's hope Amazon keeps its bags unpacked, and maybe everyone involved in making trade policy could just, take a deep breath.